Sir Robert Buckland.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to speak in this debate, and my thanks to my honourable friends from Hastings and Rye and Darlington, and indeed to the Backbench Business Committee for allowing time to debate this issue. And we've heard some very powerful contributions. I want to add to that by saying that any of us who have had friends or family who have gone through end-of-life care will know exactly how the hospice movement plays such an important part in ensuring that death is dignified, that it is dealt with properly, and that the wider family considerations are very much at the heart of the way in which hospices support people in that position. And it's not just about the bricks and mortar of those hospices, it's about their work in the community, what they do in people's homes, how they offer that domiciliary support, and how with a good plan that is agreed between the various agencies of our local health services, then death can indeed be dignified. It can be an experience that is entirely fitting, bearing in mind the sensitivities, the obvious sensitivities that exist around this issue. We do not talk, Madam Deputy Speaker, enough about death in modern society. We talk a lot about sexuality and sex, and that's absolutely right, but we seem to talk more about that than we do about death. And of course the Victorians did it exactly the other way around. They were obsessed with death but never talked about sex. And I do think that we need to get the balance right and talk frankly about death. As my honourable friend from Darlington has said, it's not a time to debate assisted dying, assisted suicide, as I would call it this evening, but it is a time to talk about not just the invaluable contribution of hospices, but of the future of our hospice movement and how we strike a balance between the need to maintain their independence, their flexibility, their character, which reflects the local community that they serve, and the support that I do think that is incumbent upon the National Health Service and central government, especially when we are talking about the provision of commissioned clinical services. Because this is where the interplay comes between the independent voluntary sector and indeed those the provision of those vital statutory services and clinical services that are the duty of government to provide and are the duty of the NHS to support. Now, I'm particularly lucky in that the local hospice that serves Swindon and the north and east area of Wiltshire is situated almost next door to where I live in my constituency in Wroughton. It's the Prospect Hospice. It was founded in 1980. It has grown and thrived due to the generosity and goodwill of our local community. We have 30% of our income comes from fundraising appeals and activities, and another 31% comes from the profit made from the charity shops that exist throughout the length and breadth of our area. We have many in Swindon. In fact, we opened a new one in Parks, in the Parks Shopping Centre only a few months ago, which is already doing very well and serving that local community admirably. We have 11% of our income from legacy. And I'm glad that that was mentioned by my honourable friend from Darlington, because legacy gifts are vitally important. And with other investment income, that brings the amount to about 75% raised through that way, with 25% from our statutory services, from our ICB. Now, I think all of us have talked about the pressure of inflation. That is a reality on Prospect as well. Costs have increased significantly, and the sad challenge that we've faced in our hospice is that we've had to decrease the number of beds in fact, we've halved the number of beds from 12 to 6, and we've had to close the day therapy unit. I can say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that unit was invaluable. The number of volunteers that worked in it and the support that it gave to people at the end of lives was something that we miss very much. And I think COVID certainly wreaked havoc with regard to the fundraising ability of Prospect and other hospices, and that leaves a shortfall in the last year of just over £1 million, with the best will of the world it is going to be very difficult to make that up, which is why this debate is important, not just for Prospect, but also for Julia's House, which is the children's hospice serving Wiltshire and Dorset, based in Devizes, which I visit very often and know the benefit for children who were my constituents. So we're talking here about not just a fundraising effort, but the effect of the involvement of volunteers in the service, which brings them huge fulfilment and which allows a whole range of people, many thousands of people, to offer their time and their talent in order to make that difference. I don't want to lose that. I don't think any of us want to lose that. But all we're saying, I think, in this debate is that there does need to be a sense of reality when it comes to the funding of commissioned services. There's no doubt the government have moved in the right direction. We've moved leagues in the last 10 or so years. The support that the government gave for the hospice movement during COVID was admirable. And the introduction, the very introduction of that statutory duty, the first time we saw that in the 2022 Act, was a signal moment. A moment, if you like, when the hospice movement came of age and when end-of-life and palliative care was recognised quite rightly as an integral part of the way in which we provide and commission health in this country. Now, my local ICB has set up an alliance, which I think is good, an end-of-life alliance. I think now we need to see more work to be done in order to make sure that that coming together does result in an avoidance of duplication, the coming together of services around patients, around clients, rather than it being the other way around, and an acknowledgement that without hospices like Prospect, that then simply we are going to fail thousands and thousands of people who have come to rely upon this invaluable service. Much more that I could say. I pray and aid the excellent submissions, the remarks made by honourable and right honourable friends and members. I think the call here is a clarion call and a unified call that we want to see our hospice movement thrive, and we cannot do that without the input of government and local health services.